Ay, ay, ay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Artist Blueprint with George Batista. We are here. We are excited. This is our first Sunday night show. We've been doing our show, the first show that we did, the counterparts, and then Artist Blueprint, always on a Tuesday night. And we've moved it now to Sunday. So we're excited about that. Hopefully, this will be a better time for people to tune in and to make comments and to hang out and all that good stuff. It's one of the joys that we have is the being able to come to you and to entertain and to bring up topics and stuff and interesting topics and maybe make a couple of jokes now and then if the mood feels right.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, today we're going to talk about my trip to Phoenix that I just had this past week, which was really interesting. So hang on tight. We'll be right back. So Sunday nights is a night that Ed Sullivan had his show for like 40 years with Sunday nights. Or maybe, I don't know how it was earlier. I know most of the time it was Sunday nights. I don't know if they had a different time earlier in that show, but it always feels like a good night. Right? We were just talking about that. It just kind of feels like a good night where we're kind of unwinding from the weekend and getting ready for the week ahead. And I think it's a good time to have a conversation about stuff. So um,
Agreed.
before we do that, we do have a sponsor that we want to give some love to. So George, take it away, por favor.
Alrighty then. The Artist Blueprint is brought to you by Wellness
How
Resources,
was that?
my karaoke version. Anyway, it's brought to you by Wellness Resources, a family owned and operated nutritional supplement company providing the highest quality, clinically formulated supplements since 1985. I was a kid back then, by the way. Find out why. They have amazing supplements and people love them all around the world. Check them out at myvitaminresource.com. And of course, as our listeners and viewers, you will get discounts. Number one, if you enter the promo code Artist Blueprint at checkout, you will get free shipping on your order. And then you can also take advantage of their monthly specials. And of course, this month special is 25% off their digestive supplements. Okay, again, we all know how digestive health is such a huge thing, right? It's a big thing. We really have to get our guts in shape because that is about 80 to 85% of your immune system is digestive, health. So, and by the way, Wellness Resources, just so you know, as a side note, they've come up with like 2 or 3 brand new supplements in the last like month or two. So definitely check those out as well. And some of them are great for digestion as well. So again, Wellness Resources supplements, 25% off, free shipping at myvitaminresource.com.
Cool.
Yeah,
Vitamin resource.
that's the way I should end it, actually.
Yeah, we need like a jingle
I'm
for
going
that.
to get a choir behind me and just going to.
Vitamin C update. Um, so we are this past week. I took a trip to Phoenix actually for a company that I work for. I work for the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council, and they do great, amazing work all across the country. And I am the media and technology manager, so I do videos and Zoom editing and whatever has to be done with that. Some technology stuff, computers and all that stuff. And it's a great place. They're great people there. And so they had the conference at Phoenix this year, 1,100 people at this conference, which was, I think it was, Bobby Watts, who's been on our show before, the CEO, said that it was, I think, the highest ever for this conference. Like,
Wow.
broke the record and stuff. So that was pretty cool. Um, and so we had a great time. It was a lot of work because, shooting a conference like this generally is minimum of 3 people.
Hmm.
You generally have 3 people because you have to have an audio person.
Hmm.
Now I had me, and that's it. But I had me, and the actual hotel had two audio guy. I think it was Hall was one guy, and
And
Jeff was the other
oats.
guy.
Oh.
Yeah, Hall, not Oates. Oates actually could make it.
Oh.
Well, they're fighting. They're not even talking. No, but Hall was there, and this other guy named Jeff. They were very cool, and they did the video. We had some video stuff that we had to show that I did some editing on, and then we had some audio that he had to give to me to, and so I was working with them. So it's sort of like three, but I had 2 cameras, so I'm working with 2 cameras by myself. So I had one, I had one all the way on one side of the stage, and the way I rigged it up was that I had a little monitor, not even really a big monitor, but it was a little tiny monitor about, I don't know, about that big, and so I can see the red light on the camera over there. So I focused the red light, or I focused the camera because it's what's called a prime lens, which means that you can't zoom in or out. It's just whatever the image is, you make it crisp, and then that's
Right.
the shot, right? If you
Okay.
move the camera back and forth, you're gonna blur, the subject's gonna get blurry, or
Right.
if the subject moves close to the camera, the subject's gonna get blurry. So I just focused it on where the speaker was on the podium for that camera over
Hmm.
there, and
Hmm.
then all the way on the other side of I had another camera, and that camera I had the larger of the stage, and I could zoom with that camera, so I can do some in and out stuff on that side. So I would look across the stage. By the way, this was a grand ballroom that held 1,100 people,
Wow.
and even more. Really, it could hold more, but it was tables.
Okay.
So if it was just lined up like that, it could probably hold 2,000 people. It was like a massive, massive place. So and on this side, I would look over there and be able to see the screen and see that the red light was on, so it's still going, and I could see the screen, seeing if the image is still kind of. I mean, it's too far for me to really see if it was sharp, but at least I could see that it's still capturing the right the people, right?
Right.
So generally, that's not a normal thing. It's a little bit more challenging and stuff. So I got the footage. I saw a lot of the footage already. It looks pretty good. I'm downloading and have to put it into the software. That takes some time. So I'm working on that. But that was the event. It was a great event. We got to meet a bunch of people there. Really, really awesome. And this is a picture that I took.
Nice. That's a great picture.
Actually, I didn't take this picture. I have a friend there. She's an actress friend of mine, and her name is Trina. And Trina was there, and so she knows the place. She lives there, so she's like, "Oh, I gotta take you here. I gotta go here." So she brought me on top of this mountain top,
Wow.
and it took like, I don't know, 20 minutes to get up there. And this is all you can see, all of Phoenix back there. And if you look all the way in the corner, I don't know if you can see that, but right where the cartoon cactus head is,
Hmm.
like a little bit to the, if you're facing a little bit to the left of that, is the city, like the
Oh,
downtown.
that. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I see
So
it.
the rest of it is just like, homes and communities
Wow.
and stuff like that. Yeah, it was massive. I mean, and of course it was really, really hot. I took some pictures. I'll show some pictures in a minute. And they're on my Facebook, so I'm going to share my Facebook and just share them from there. But people talk about, it's that dry heat. It's not so much the heat; it's really the humidity that gets you. So there's a lot of those conversations that were going on.
Right.
Small talk conversations, which is always fun to kind of dive into, and hear the same cliches over and over. But yeah, it is really hot over there,
Mhm.
and in the shade, it's very tolerable.
Okay.
You don't feel it. It's just fine. You're in the shade.
Right.
As soon as you go to the direct sun, fire. You're
Was
just
was it
with
over
fire.
100?
Yeah, it was 100 every day.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, every day. And Trina was saying that it was like 122 or something last year. Like, I was like, doesn't that
She's like,
mean,
we're going through a cold spell.
yeah? Well, 100 is fine. 100 is like not even thought of as hot. Like if you get from like 95 to 105 in that realm, it's like normal temperatures.
But that's the global warming.
Yeah, that global warming has been going on for a long time over there. But yeah, I saw a lot of cactus or cacti,
Mm.
and there was a ton uh, of stone, Native Americans. A lot of Native American things. I did purchase a one of those bracelets at the top of that mountain. There was two women. They were selling Native Americans selling like all this jewelry, handmade jewelry and stuff. Really, really great looking stuff. And so I got one of those copper bracelets,
Oh,
and they
okay.
had all this cool stuff on
Yeah,
it. Really, really cool. So I
those are
bought one of
cool.
those,
Nice.
and that was really cool. But yeah, let me just show some photos. So I don't know if you have any Phoenix questions. I don't know if you did any Phoenix research, but hold on one second.
Don't know much about Phoenix actually. I was wondering how, like, just overall, what was your impression?
I thought it was a really, really awesome city. I mean,
Really?
I really liked
It,
it. It was
but it's not a big city. It's kind of small,
no, it's
right?
very small city. Yeah, it's a very small city. Um, it's also not, um, the city is the city.
Right.
There's a downtown.
Hmm.
But everything else is just like spread out. I mean, because it's
Wow.
so much land.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of land, which again, overcrowding is a problem, but it's not. So this is a
Nice.
cactus, and
Wow.
that's that cactus is almost about 4 feet tall.
Wow. You just jumped right in because I was right there. I was going
I
right
figure
there.
I'll beat you to
Beat me right to it. I actually was going with 5 feet, but whatever.
it. Anyway, so this is a shot of the. So you can see right there in the center, or maybe a little closer towards the right of the screen, the downtown
Hmm.
city. I wonder if I can zoom in. Yeah, right there. You see it right here?
Oh yeah, okay.
That's
It's like a
downtown.
blip.
I know, it's so crazy, and all this stuff right here is just people living.
Wow.
This is a
Oh,
video
video.
that I just took of.
Kind of give you that old Clint Eastwood Western type of feel.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Nice.
So that was pretty
That's
cool.
cool.
And so let me see what else is. Yeah, this was cool. This is looks like it's been there a long time, and it's just on top of the mountain. It's pretty cool.
Very nice.
Keep off the roof. They put that there right when I was there because I was on the roof when they were. That's me. That's me. That's me. That's me. That's me. So yeah, elevation is 2330 feet.
Hmm.
So that's pretty high. And that's Trina, my friend. We went to this restaurant, one of those Cajun restaurants. This was our waiter. He's been there a long time.
Must have been the heat.
Yeah, this is what I had. I never had this before. This
What
was
is it?
jambalaya,
Oh, jambalaya.
jambalaya,
Never had that
and
actually.
the other thing was gumbo.
Ah,
So the
wow.
soupy stuff is the gumbo, and then the rice. It's like rice and sausage and chicken is the jambalaya, which was
What made you had that, or is that like the normal?
well because it was that kind of a environment. So she
Okay.
suggested this restaurant. I always like to try new stuff. So
Right.
I was like, yeah, I got to try it. So of course I kind of embarrassed myself a little bit because I asked the guy. I was like, "Is it spicy?" And the guy just kind of looked at me like, "You should not be here, sir."
You're not from here, are you?
Yeah,
Hey,
he was
Billy,
yeah he was not
check this
he was
guy
not
out.
impressed with me at all. Like, can I get the mild? He was like, well, it depends what your tolerance level is. It was spicy, but it
Okay.
was definitely tolerable. It wasn't like crazy. Like, I don't. Do you do spice? I don't think we've ever talked
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I mean, well, here and there, a little bit. I'm not a huge fan. Not, I don't go crazy with it, but
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I mean, if it has a touch of spice, I don't mind.
yeah. I mean, that's kind of like how I was. So this was my hotel room. I'm just kidding. Um, They went all out for the.
Wow.
But yeah, no,
That
this
was a
is
discounted
called
hotel.
the Scorpion Gulch. And of course, when she's taking these pictures, she's like, "Yeah, just look out for rattlesnakes."
Oh my god.
I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, they usually don't come out this time, but just." I'm like, "Why are you trying to kill
That
me?"
would that would have been great if it would have been like one like right there, right before you.
Yeah, no, but that was a great experience, and the food was great. Um, the thing about that I was always interested in, whenever I go anywhere, I'm curious on the real estate,
Yeah.
because you know it's kind of amazing what's happening in real estate, and I don't know when it's coming down. I mean, it feels like there's another bubble happening, and there'll be another crash, and people will lose their shirts again, and some people will make the people that were, you know, s- smart enough or knew that it was coming would make another, millions of dollars
Of
off
course.
of that. Um, you know, so, but the housing market, was, if you go across the country, maybe like, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, the average home was 270 across the whole country.
Right. Right. Just average
Average
overall.
home across the
Overall.
country.
Okay.
Now it's like 470.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I've heard
know,
that. I've heard that.
and you think about that, and it's sort of like ridiculous. And then of course interest rates went up.
Right.
They're at, I don't know if they're where they are now, but they were around 7 or 8. So you can buy, I don't know, whenever the years ago, you can buy a house for 300,000, and your monthly will be 1,500.
Right.
The PMI maybe will get it
Hmm.
to maybe a little bit higher, but that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
You can't, $300,000 home now, your monthly is going to be
Yeah.
2,600. So people are now just renting now, because it's like they're not really getting the investment that they thought they would get
Hmm.
back in the day. Now real estate is still the best way to make wealth, right? I mean,
Sure.
there's
Of
still,
course.
real estate
Of
will
course.
always be that, because land is land, and people have to live on
People.
a land.
That's right.
So, and so it's always going to be a valuable commodity. So it'll always be, go up. But, in order for, we were just talking about, George and I, before we went on, we were talking about, you know, the educational system and what you get with a degree, what you actually can. Now they say, well, you make this amount more money if you get a college degree, which is true. Statistically, if you have a college degree, you make more money, but you also get a $200,000 debt of a
Right.
loan with the degree, that comes with it. That's on average. Maybe it's 30,000 a year, so maybe it's it's going to range 100,000 and over
Right.
your education, if of student loans, unless you got a grant or something. So, but if you make, and George and I just did the math on this, just right, literally right before we went on, because we were just talking about this, and so I'm always fascinated with real estate whenever I go somewhere. So I was looking at the real estate in Phoenix, and you get a pretty much the same as Nashville. The homes, or
Mm.
the rents were about the same. The 2,500 to rent a place in there, a nice place. Um, the houses were in the 400s. Nice houses, four
Mm.
bedrooms, 2.5 bath, little bit of land, about four, yeah, about. So it was kind of. I thought for some reason, but I guess big cities are just, overall. That's what, if you're in a big city, that's where everybody wants to live. If you go to
Y-
the outskirts of a city, you go 2 hours out from a big city, you'll find that 200,000,
Of
three hundred
course.
thousand
Right.
dollar home.
Correct.
Now,
Correct.
but the $300,000 home doesn't mean that your monthly is still going to be $2,000 roughly, just because of the interest rates are
Right.
a lot higher now. Now,
Mm.
people, real estate agents will tell you, well, you should still buy now because we don't know it's going to go higher. And it's like, oh yeah, that's true. So people will do that. But a lot of people are just choosing to, like Grant Cardone talks about, don't buy,
Don't,
buy
well,
investments.
he
Still
actually
rent.
says rent where you live and then buy everything else.
He still rents. I
Yeah,
mean, Grant Cardone, like
yeah,
the biggest real estate tycoon, super famous guy now online and everything. His conference is like humongous now. Um, or are they called conferences? I guess they're called whatever they're called. Um, and he still rents,
yeah.
because you invest, you know,
Right,
you you put your money into investments instead of where you live, because it's a different world. The American dream that was put out there by the banks and you know the Rockefellers and all the talk about all that stuff, but all those guys that control the banking system, you know, put all that stuff out there, the American dream, and they'll lend you this money. But remember, all this money is your money. They're just taking your money and lending it out to people, and then charging interest, and then getting that money in, and then taxing that, and then you get probably. So it's so the trip to Phoenix. I was kind of like thinking, well, because I'm always looking for opportunities to live somewhere for a year, to maybe put some money away for a certain thing,
right.
for some of the church services that my wife and I want to do, and for some of the things that we want to purchase.
Hmm.
And if you can go somewhere, and let's say there was a town, Toledo, and the rent's there. You can get a nice 3-bedroom apartment for $2,000. Like, oh
Hmm.
wow, that's good.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's go there for a year.
Hmm.
I work remotely, so I can work from anywhere in the country. Um, and my wife's a teacher, so and she's a very qualified teacher. She can teach anywhere if she wants to continue teaching. But we wouldn't even need her to work.
Right.
She could literally be doing something else, or just selling her art. My wife's an
Right.
artist. She could just be selling her art. But then you look at a place like Phoenix, and you thought, okay, well, Phoenix it's a popular town,
Hmm.
but it's not New York or
Right.
LA,
Sure.
but no, prices are the same. I mean, New York, granted, and LA are at another level,
Well, yes, yes.
especially like California, like San Francisco is the most expensive place ever, or some,
Well, that's why we're like my wife and I. We're looking south, right? We're look right now. Currently, we're looking at real estate southwise because that's where we're headed in a few years. So we're looking at different places. But yeah, and part of that you're seeing is because of there's a part of it also because of the mass migration right now that's happening to the south, right?
well,
There's
yeah,
the mass migration that's happening to Florida, Tennessee, Texas, right? Those type of places because New York is number one, just completely you cannot afford it anymore unless you're a big business or a big tycoon.
yeah,
And number two, because of whatever's going on with laws and all that type of stuff. But there is this migration, so that's going to drive up prices, obviously. But when we're looking at real estate, you know, like if we're looking at Florida right now, we're actually going to be going down in July just to kind of scout out some stuff.
yeah. We're going in July too, actually.
Yeah, so it's there's still reasonable areas, but still, like you said, this you have the city, and then outside of the city, you can get some way more affordable, right? You get
Right.
closer to the city, like anywhere else, it
Yeah,
goes way up,
yeah,
But and the construction now because the is ridiculous now because there's so many people going down. They just there's
yeah.
just lines and
Yeah,
lines of
actually,
new
Phoenix was like a
builds.
lot here. Nashville, construction everywhere. Phoenix, construction everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
It seems like it's big cities are just being built bigger.
yeah. But
That
one,
might
one
have been always going on.
but the one thing that you said, kind of piggybacking on one thing you said about the degree and the house and the housing, we always have to remember that we were all brought up right because of the way the system and how we was marketed, that the house was an asset,
Correct.
and the house and people still don't understand that your house is not an asset.
No,
Your
it's a
house is a
huge liability.
liability.
Yeah,
You know. So
yeah,
it's something that even I had to learn growing up, because I grew up in apartments in the beginning, and then eventually bought a house and all this stuff. But then I realized, whoa, that is right. A house is a liability, really,
Yeah.
unless you're renting it or you're renting part of it and you're
Right.
getting an income from that.
Correct.
Then now it's an asset.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think part of that, has to do with obviously the economy being destroyed, whatever. But the interest rates going crazy, the fact that we had this, 3 years of this thing that went on in the world that shut things down, and so all that affected,
Yeah.
the whole thing. So things are still kind of adjusting. I don't know if things are if it's going to be another bubble or something's going to crash or whatever, um, but Phoenix is definitely, a really beautiful city.
Mhm.
It was a really fun city, and I was only there. I only got to explore like just one night, really.
Mhm.
But by the way, I want to thank Trina. Trina, I don't know if you're watching, but if you are watching, thank you very much for taking the time to show me around and stuff. And it was really great, and the food was great. And I'm glad she laughed a lot at my ridiculous jokes. So there was a lot of laughing going on. So I appreciated that. But thank you very much for your time. And I definitely will be back to Phoenix because it was a great experience.
Mhm.
Um, but like I'm one of those guys. I've always been this way too. This isn't like an age thing that now that I'm older I feel this way. No, I've always felt I've never really been a big city guy.
Mhm.
Like I never thought I had to live in the cool places.
Right.
Even when I was young, I mean obviously when I was very young I lived in the Bronx, so I was not in the cool place. But when I moved into Manhattan for the first time in my 20s and I had my own place, you know, Upper West Side was I mean, I was happy to be there because it was safe, but I was not I could be okay with like being in a country somewhere far away, like in the middle of nothing, even back then. And I remember very clearly just the subways, the crowdedness, all that stuff. I was just like done. So by the time I moved to New Jersey, which was in 2012, you know, New Jersey was more quieter. It was, we were living in a house. It was just the more space. It was beautiful parks, and so I was like, okay, I can feel this. This is
Right.
more my speed, And where we live right now, it's more my speed too. I drive over a beautiful lake every day to come over here. Percy Priest Lake, which is literally right here,
Mhm.
and so it's an amazing aesthetic. So I'm more of that. Now, I don't even mind, and I've told my wife this, I said, I don't even mind if I move 2 hours in any direction and we find the house and we got to drive 2 hours to go anywhere. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't mind that, to be honest with you. Maybe not 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. But at this stage, this is something that I would consider doing. And I could probably see myself doing that into like an old ranch or something, and living in a ranch and having like a recording studio there,
Right.
and having just having it decked out, but in the middle of nowhere. People, if you want to come see me, you come see me over here. I ain't going over there.
Well, as someone who lives in the forest,
That's right. You do live in the forest. You
I
live in
do live in the forest, literally.
you're
You know,
Hood.
there's something to be said for
Is
it
that why you always
because
wear those tights? You're like Robin. I
like
always wondered about
Robin Hood, yeah, absolutely. But no, being in this, I completely understand your thing because there was a point where I was like, I'm done with the city. The city is just
Yeah, I mean, I
yeah.
was definitely.
You when you live for 20, 25 years and you work and in New York, especially in New York City, and it just gets more crowded and more crowded and more. And I drive back down to see my mother and my relatives down to this. And when I drive into the Bronx, so I drive into the city, I'm going, like it's almost like I've never been there before because
I
like,
know.
oh my god, there's 1,000 people and they're cutting me off and the traffic and the congestion and the construction and it's insane.
Yeah,
And then I long for being back here because
I know.
here I don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah,
Now, granted, I have to drive I have to drive at least a half hour to get to a mall. Okay, here, but that's the way it is in this area. So I don't mind. I don't
How long?
mind
How
that.
long?
A
What's the
half
drive?
hour
Half hour? That's not
to
that bad.
get to like a big mall. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it's not
like we
that
have
bad.
like we have a local Walmart and we have local
Yeah, yeah,
stuff, but to get to an actual big mall with the movie theater and all
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
it's
Oh, I,
30
I,
minutes.
I hate malls anyway, but I like little convenience stores, general
Yeah, yeah.
stores owned by one person that's been there for like 100 years, his whole family, and that's what
But
I like.
it's it's that thing where when I come home and I go to my backyard and there's just trees and it's quiet and I don't hear ambulances and I don't hear gunshots and I don't hear people yelling in the streets and I'm like, a friend of mine used to tell me, and I never understood it because I lived in the Bronx when we were talking about it. This was years ago when I worked in the city with him, and he used to commute to Staten Island, and it was a nice area in Staten Island where there was nothing around, and he would commute into the city an hour and a half, whatever it was, and he would tell me every time I leave and I go back to my house and I drive up, he goes, and the commute's bugging me, but I look at my house and I look at the area and I go, this is why I do
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
It's that he goes, it
Just to have
reminds
that
me of
peace of
that.
mind. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
See, my thing is, I always wanted to work near my to live near my job. Wherever I worked, I wanted to live near,
Right.
and I did that when I was in New York. I did that when I was in New Jersey. Whatever thing and now I have the closest commute because I'm work from home. So, but I just think that for me the commuting, if I could just cut the commuting in New York. So I love New York.
Of
I mean, I loved
course.
it in New
Of
York and the
course.
energy and I had some great times in New York. But I was done when we were playing in the band, like and
Yeah.
going up to your house
Yeah.
for rehearsals. When it was like 12 degrees and we're carrying guitars and amps and stuff
Yeah.
and we're heading up there. It is the worst. It
Yeah.
was just a wor I was just like, I could not ever do this and I'd be fine. And it's funny now. Now I'm playing more now than I ever have, but I have a car, so it's a completely different thing.
Right. Right.
It's more convenient, but I just can't ever find myself wanting to live in a big city again. Like Nashville is considered a big city,
Right.
but it's a joke in comparison to New York. It's I mean it's you can I mean literally and we talk about this sometimes 15 minutes from our house when we're going somewhere, we're driving 15 minutes, we're in boondock. We're literally going these beautiful hilly mountains, and we're driving 15 minutes from the house.
Right.
We're nowhere. There's no big city living here. It's very very chilled out. But that for me is really what I enjoyed about visiting Phoenix was that whole you could still see small town living,
Yeah.
even though there was a big city down there, but you could still see that there was people living, small town.
But would you, like you said, if you live 2 hours away from a city, wouldn't you miss
No,
some,
but
wouldn't you miss the concerts,
no. Well,
the venues,
I don't go to concerts enough, although this week I'm going to a couple, but I don't go enough,
right.
right? That's going to be that dreadful. And plus, if it is a concert that I'm going to, then I'll take the drive. I don't mind doing the drive, you know what I mean? Because it's a specific thing that I'm doing.
Right.
It's just the commuting
Right.
to
No,
work.
I get that.
Monday through Fridays, 5 days a week.
I get that. I
Traffic.
would see.
I'm not doing that.
I'd like to be like even looking down south when we're looking. I would. I still want to be on the outskirts. I don't want to be. I don't mind being half hour, 45 minutes from all the action. but
Yeah.
I still want
And what
access.
action? People talk about
Well,
that.
well,
People
well,
ask me
I
that sometimes. Like,
well, think about it. If I'm going to go down there and I decide I want to put a group together, okay? Most of those clubs are going to be in the city,
yeah,
right? Rehearsals might be in the city.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I want access to that.
But spandex dancing, tap dancers are not that popular down there as
It's
you have
coming
to.
back.
Wherever you go, you're gonna have to really work hard to put a group
it's
together.
coming back. Let me tell you, the ballet with the spandex is coming.
Um, I think about that. Like the people, the action part of it. Right now where we are, I'm 25 minutes from downtown
Right,
Nashville.
right.
Um, and it's fine. Like if I move
That
another
makes sense.
20 minutes out,
Right.
and I have like a 45-minute to downtown Nashville, I don't care. That's fine. Like right now, Friday, I'm going to see a singer that I was talking about earlier. Was I talking with you? No, I'm talking to somebody else. So he's a country singer. He's really great. He's playing and down in Franklin. So I'm going to go there on Friday. Franklin is probably like, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes from me. So it's a little bit more of a trek down there, you know what I mean? But it's
Right.
a theater, there's parking, it's not a complicated thing. It's sort of like, this is the thing. Let's say you and I were going to Madison Square Garden to see Rush and we were driving from New Jersey.
Right. Yeah.
It's torturous.
Sure.
It's crazy. I mean, you and I,
But
we
you're
did we did do Rush, right? We went to go see Rush in well, we've seen them in a lot of places, but our first time seeing Rush was at Jones Beach, right? And that was that commute in that car that that was duct taped.
But you're also talking about one of the most heavily populated metropolitan areas on the
Correct.
planet. Okay.
Yeah.
Versus if I had to drive, let's say I lived in the outskirts in Nashville or Phoenix or whatever. It's not as populated. Meaning you're not going to
I
get
don't
the
know
same.
Phoenix. I
You're not
know.
going to get the same commute as New
No,
York.
it's definitely not. I mean, even here, there is traffic, and you'll
Oh,
get
of
traffic
course. Yeah.
situations, and there'll be things happening, and there'll be accidents that you have to kind of like,
But New York, there's traffic just to have traffic. I mean,
right.
you go over the George Washington Bridge, forget it. You're done.
Yeah, yeah. So that right there is so unappealing, and
I
it
agree.
always has been. It never was. Like when I was taking the subway to go play a gig, and I have my guitar, my amp, my pedal board on a little. Remember, I used to carry that little
Yeah.
wheelie thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I used to wheel that little amplifier around with my pedal board and my guitar. The playing was fun, but everything else was I just hated it because it was just too congested. Getting into a crowded subway, I'm a little guy, I'm in someone's pit, they're holding the thing up, my face is right here. It's like, it was just the worst experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like, obviously we stopped because of a tragedy. We lost David, and we missed David, and we love David, and that kind of like took a huge uh, air out of our sail, basically, and I didn't even want to play at that point. But I don't know if I would have, even if our band didn't stay together or whatever, I don't know if I would have done that again.
Makes
I
sense.
don't
Well,
know. I don't know if I would have gone out and put another group together and then start the rehearsing and start meeting new bands and stuff. You and I probably would have done something,
yeah.
but I just don't know if I would have continued that.
Well, it
that
was even the same thing. It was even the same thing for me, drum wise, because I had to drive from where I was because I was driving. Right. Let's say you were taking a subway, but I was driving in with my gear in the back.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Driving on the West Side Highway.
Ugh.
And now to get to the West Side Highway, if anybody knows New York, the West Side Highway, you got to go through the Cross Bronx, and the Cross Bronx is literally the worst highway in the world.
Mm-hmm.
The worst highway in the country. It was something. I think it was voted like worst highways in the country or something like that. But it's the traffic is ridiculous. Yeah. So you have to go through that to get to the West Side Highway to get to the Village. And then you get to the village, and then we sometimes we would play these small dinky places where you cannot find parking anywhere. Sometimes I had to park 2 or 3 blocks down
And then
just
carry.
to find a place that I know that they're not going to tow my car, and then carry all that gear, all 2 blocks into the. I mean, it was a nightmare. Sometimes I would roam around,
Yeah.
constant 3 or 4 times just to find some, or waiting for somebody to get out.
Ugh.
So it was. It's yeah. It's
It's
crazy.
just so. That's why with even the group I'm playing with right now, like we played a place a couple of weeks ago, and there's like no parking.
Yeah.
And then and I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. I was like very clear. I was like, I'm not at the age where I want to do that. You know what I mean? I'm not out there trying to be a rock star anymore. I love playing, and I love the I love the feeling of playing. You know what I mean? And I love hanging out with the guys and writing songs and all that stuff. But that part of it is just too unappealing. Where I just feel like I'm not interested in that. Um, it doesn't the level how much I love to play, is huge, right? I love it.
Right. Right.
But that struggle to get to that point is not worth it for me at this stage. Like
Yeah.
because I know I don't have to.
True.
And I didn't this place that we played, it was, not ideal for me. I'm not playing there ever again. I was very clear about that. I'm not at an age where I have to, I can be tough on certain things and say I'm just not doing that anymore. That's it. I parked. I got lucky. I did park like not too far, maybe like on that block, but maybe about 4 or 5 cars down from the place. So it wasn't bad. There was a cart, that somebody had a cart so I could put my stuff on it. And I have a huge pedal board right now.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of transferring over to something else, but it's heavy. It weighs a ton. I have an amp. I got 2 guitars, um, and we put that on a cart, and then we go up the little hill. These are the things that people don't see.
Yes.
You go up this little hill, and the hill and it's where the cars can some cars can go into load out, like drummers can
Yeah.
drive in there to load out.
Right. Right.
The road is cracked, broken, so this little cart that I'm wheeling up is
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
die, and it's up a hill into
Right.
the club, and the club is like hid in the back of like these 2 other clubs that are in the like these 2 other stores that are in the front, and it's in the back. And then I had to pay for parking, so it
Yeah.
was like it wasn't free. Which, so I don't know how much. I think I paid maybe 20 something dollars for parking. So it's like there's no, there are ways to do it, and I found a way. I found the Why Not Saloon when I did my show.
Yeah.
Free parking.
Right.
Very accessible place. Very open, really nice venue. Parking up front, free. That's what I want. That's how I want. That's how I build. You know, uh, leverage with groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
The group, like Soul Chest played there, right? And they loved it so much that they're gonna play there again. I think they're playing there in June.
Nice.
They're playing there again in June because they liked it, because
Yeah.
it's a good venue.
Right.
It's got the parking, it's easy access to places, and it's a good spot. You know what I mean? Jeff Woods, who's performing there on Wednesday night, same thing. He's doing it's called West Side Collective, and he brings bands on and he performs with bands and stuff like that. I'm going to go there on Wednesday night, actually. And it's, again, a good venue,
Right.
So the reason all of this comes out is because it has to do with the big city living. Talking about
Yes.
Phoenix and talking about New York, talking about LA. There are people right now, every day that it's Sunday night, right? So there are people right now that know that they have to get up tomorrow morning and they have to drive 45 to an hour on, on the freeway where it's, and dreading it
Yeah.
and dreading it, and I feel bad. I always say to people, sit down with yourself and try to figure out how you can make everything that you want happen. You
Mm-hmm.
can, you really,
Mm-hmm.
really can,
Yeah.
and there is part of our minds that will try to tell us that you can't, but you can rise above that,
Right.
if you have the right people around you, and that's another thing that I learned in Phoenix is that a lot of people that I met, they persevered, through being unhoused for years. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
met one guy that I took a photo with, who I've seen him, few times, and this is my third conference, and he was on the streets for 15 years.
Wow.
15 years, and he was able to not only get himself off the streets, but get himself off of drugs,
Mm-hmm.
go to school, get educated in counseling. Now he's a counselor, and he goes out and he helps people get off the streets. I mean, you can sit down at whatever. I mean, this guy was in the streets on drugs,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
and I know that a lot of people are not in that position,
Right.
right? But yet they complain that they're stuck in a job that they hate, or they don't like their boss, or they don't like their hours, or they don't like the commute, or whatever it is. Sit down, grab yourself a pen, grab yourself a piece of paper. This is a CD cover, and start writing. Okay, what are the pros of
Yeah.
having this job?
Mm-hmm.
Money, da 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 da. What are the cons? Boom, 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 boom. Let me
Right.
work on this and try to put some attention on handling these cons and trying to get the life that I want. And I tell that, and this is sometimes it's to myself. You know what I mean? This is not. I'm not preaching to the choir. I mean, I am preaching to the choir in a sense to George, but I'm also preaching to myself. I'm
Sure.
also, it's an affirmation to myself. To to look at it, because there are still things that I want to accomplish, and sometimes I'm like, oh, but then I'm like, okay, well, I get my book, and everybody knows I walk in with this book. Everybody already knows this book because I always walk in with this. I got my stickers on it, and it's got this is my Bible. I write all my notes in here. All my meetings go in there. I'm still old school. I like to write. I'm not gonna go on my phone and be like, say that again. Say that again. I'm not doing that. I'm gonna write it down in a piece of paper, on a piece of
Right.
paper. But I sit down, and if you go into this book, and I've had this since before I moved here, and I'll go back here and I laugh my ass off because I look at some of the things that I was working on that I'm doing,
Mm.
that I've done. Like right here, I have a to-do list. This was May 2nd, 2021.
Wow.
Okay. I moved here July 14th, 2021. No, I'm sorry, September. Well, when did I land here? No, July 14th, 2021. I moved. So this was a to-do list of things that I had to do to move here. So it's just me. I'm just gonna indulge for a second just on how fast I just turned the page to this. So number one, siblings conversation. I had to
Mm.
talk to my brother and my sisters
Right.
that I'm moving to Nashville. I had to really have a serious conversation with them, especially my sister Angie, who's in the Bronx.
Yeah.
So we're leaving her because my brother and my youngest sister, they're in Florida
Yeah.
already.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm here in Tennessee.
Right.
She's over there. She was fine, but I had a conversation. I told them, right. Um, our electric bill. We had to handle our electric bill to make sure that we were shutting it off at this date. Um, Let me see some of the things that Nashville driving test. I only had a permit. I didn't have my license.
Right.
I don't drive. I wasn't a driver,
Nashville
So I
driving.
have this down here, and I went and I took the test and I passed and all that and all that stuff. Um, Sorry.
Conversation with George.
Yeah, I think I had you on this. I had you on this. No, I'm pretty sure I had you. I had
I remember exactly where I was when we had that conversation.
Do
I was
you?
actually
Yeah, because it was
I was actually in the car when you called me.
yeah, because I called you specifically to tell you.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that, and I know it's written down. I had a list. Oh, you know what it was? I had a list of just the people.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was. Yeah, I had a list of just the people that I have to call, and it's in here. But my point I'm bringing all this up is that these are things that I wrote down. Here's the Nashville businesses and contacts. I wrote this on July 24th, 2021. So we were 10 days in Nashville. So I made a list of about 31 businesses that were here in Nashville that I found through LinkedIn and whatever, and I reached
Right.
out to a lot of them. Some of them are people that I know now. Some of them are friends that I know. These are some of them are businesses that I actually go to and I know the owners. So my point is when you want to get something, when you're not happy with the current situation, you can't just. I mean, yeah, you can pray, and, and I believe in God, and yeah, you can pray, but you have to have action.
Of course.
Have to have action, and you have to do something. And I think that if you sit down and you start writing the things that you want, write the things that you want. I want to get a job that pays me twice as much as what I'm making now. Boom. I want to move to a warmer climate. Boom. I want to, write those things down because now you have something to look at.
Correct.
You take it out, you put it on the refrigerator, and you look at it every day and say, "Okay, I want to do that." That's what I have. I call it a postulate wall. In my closet, I have a walk-in closet, and on my wall and in the closet there, I have pictures of things that I am going towards. Some of them I already have. Some of them are, I keep there because I want to elevate them. I want to do them better. There's a recording studio. I've always wanted my own recording studio. That's a picture of a recording studio up there. There's a picture of a yellow Jeep. I want a yellow Jeep. Now I could get a yellow Jeep now, but I like my car, so but that's still up there because I will get that eventually. What were you gonna say? Because you had some.
No, 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 no. Well,
Yeah, I think
yellow,
that's a joke.
yellow Jeep. No, no, no joke. Actually, this just a thought on that, which is all true. The issue is the percentage of people that will actually do that. It's like the same percentage of people that will actually take care of their health.
It's a good point.
It's a very small percentage
Yeah.
because again, we're not taught that, right? We're
Oh
not
yeah.
because our schooling doesn't teach you that.
No.
You
This is
know,
why
you
with my kids, I'm so and you too,
yep,
educating my kids. Like whenever something comes on with like some bad food or something that comes, I send it to my daughter. I send her the in a text, and she writes back, oh, because it might
yeah,
be like
yeah,
something she likes to eat or something, or
yeah,
some food that I know is poisonous, and we're at war. People, we're at war with ourselves.
yeah.
That's number one.
True,
'Cause that's the biggest war. If you can win the war with yourself, you're gonna win in life.
correct,
But
correct.
on top of that, you also have to be very aware, very uh, diligent on researching
Right.
certain things like food, nutrition, and what's out there and what you're eating. Now that comes from winning yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you win over yourself, if you say to yourself, "Okay, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm going to be in charge. I not that part of my mind that gives me negativity, not that reactive part of my mind that gives me negativity. No, me.
Right.
That might click in, and then I'm going to rise above that, and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep doing something that I really want to do. If you can do that, everything else becomes easy.
Correct.
Everything else is a piece of cake because now you could look at everything and be like, well, why are they pushing
Right.
that on Americans for a second? Why is that? I'm not gonna just blindly say yes to anybody. I'm
Exactly.
gonna be like, well, why? What's the agenda? Do your research. Remember a few years ago, people were like, don't do your research.
Yeah. Of
It's a
course.
waste of your time. Well, that is garbage. Whoever's telling you that is garbage, and they're idiots, and they are probably possessed with. And to me, it's evil. It's evil.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
it was funny. At the event at the conference, Bobby Watts was talking about homelessness being evil,
Right.
and I was like thinking, I was like, holy crap! I was like, it is evil because
Yeah.
we're all here. We are humans. living a life. We're all living an experience, right?
Yeah.
Everyone has an experience. We all care for each other. There's this thing called love, which is very popular, and people do love your fellow man and stuff. Now, yes, there is responsibility. There is your own ability to to not make bad decisions. But if sometimes, people are put in a situation where that's all they know.
Right.
That's all they know. They only know their parents doing that, their grandparents doing that, and they're gonna do that. You know, so that's a tough situation. But if you can manage to look at any situation and be like, "I'm me now. I'm going to," but yet there are people out there in the street. We have more homeless souls today than ever. Okay, but yet it is a $1 billion industry. And
Yeah.
that really is frightening because I see the work that's being done and it's great work. There are people out there just trying to figure out, well, where is the stop? What is stopping this? Where is this money going to? Where is all this fundraising? Where's all these grants? Why is this number not coming down? Why is it going up? Evil, because there's evilness out there and they are bent on this is becoming a hell of a show because there's evil out there and we have to be strong enough to look at the situation and to say this is evil. I want no part of it and I'm going to try to fix this at least in my space, you know
Correct.
try to
Correct.
fix it there and then try to help others as well.
And that's why, listen, it's corruption, it's greed, it's, which has been going on forever, ever since there's been power, ever since, I mean, you give people
The
power
beginning
and
of everything,
at
yeah.
the beginning of everything, it's corruption and greed that plagues the society more now than ever before because it's been allowed to go on for so long, and now it's in every aspect of every industry, unfortunately. And you're right, there is an evilness about it, not because you have literally people who can solve the problem and don't want to because there is another interest involved,
Yeah.
whether it's their interest or the interest of people they work with or
Yeah.
who they're against or whatever the case may be. And they will literally block and stop something from happening just to say, no, you cannot solve that problem
Yeah. They
because
would put people against one
it's
another.
competing interests,
Yeah,
basically.
and put people against one another with fake narratives that aren't real.
Yeah.
Because when you really think about it, you can have. I mean, you know, we talk about being, about those who are homeless, and where is where's the funds? Where are the funds being stored that we can look at them, right? Where's the transparency on that level? There never has been. So you have individuals on the planet that can solve everything pretty simply. Now they'll say, well, let's tax the rich. Well, let me tell you something about taxing the rich and why that's a joke. These tax codes are purposely written to help those people. Now, a rich person, because you would do it, George, and so would I. If you and I had the ability to hire a tax person that studies all the tax codes that are put out legally by the government, and I'm going to pay less taxes than the guy who's picking up the garbage here. I'm going to pay less taxes than that guy because he can't afford a tax person.
Right.
Well, people are going to do it because I know I would try to save some money because I would try to save my money to actually do good with other things. So yes, I would hire a tax person. So taxing the rich is not a thing. A rich person, a billionaire is gonna not one tax person. They have a team of,
Yes.
of people that can help them move their money around
Right.
and pay as little money as they possibly can. So they say, okay, well, let's increase the minimum wage, right? That was another battle, and then that was a fight. People say, no, you can't increase it. You can't because this happens. But yeah, you have to. Okay, well, now they forced it, right? So what's happening now? Well, now a lot of these businesses, now when they had 5 employees, now they got three.
Right.
Now they got 3 employees doing the work of those five because they can't afford the $15 an hour,
Right.
right? Now they'll say, well, now there's forced. Well, we have to force them to hire. Well, now that you just lost the business. So now
Right.
this business has gone out of business because they can't afford to be in business the
Right.
way this was set up. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's two sides that are arguing two things that either one makes no sense.
Correct.
It's yes, they should make more money, but yes, there should be more production being done, and there should be more tax leniency on some businesses that are hiring more people.
Correct.
So if you are giving them $15 an hour, then there should be some more tax, breaks for some of these businesses. Um, you know, these billionaires, they'll send like $1 billion of taxes. They're paying like these billions of taxes. Well, the government is taking that money,
Of
and they're
course.
like, woohoo!
Well, it's
And
like that thing you said earlier, when we were talking about the student loans, right? You won't give an 18-year-old, twenty
right,
thousand
right
dollars
before
to
we went
start
live,
a.
we were talking about that.
He won't give an 18-year-old $20,000 to start a business, but you'll give him $200,000 to get into debt for school.
Correct.
Which 50% of the time when he leaves school, he's not going to get a job in the degree that he spent $200,000 to get.
And he's not going to make as much money as he thinks. Because yes, you do get more money when you have a college degree, but because the economy is so, if you're living, we did the numbers. If you're
Yes.
living in New York, I have a friend who pays $6,000 a month, him and his girlfriend, for a place. $6,000 a month. So now let's say somebody is making 125,000. They're making six figures, right? Making six figures. That's right out of college. Boom, 125. Well, you're paying $6,000 a month because you're living in a chic building that looks beautiful and it's in the middle of downtown, and you're hanging out with all the really cool places. You can walking distance from Papa John's. I don't know, whatever. Whatever cool place to eat is that the cool people eat at nowadays. There's all the foo places, right? So now your $6,000 a month is $72,000 a year to pay for the rent. So now you're left with 53,000. I think we did numbers, right?
Yeah.
Now you haven't paid your student loan yet, right? So now you got 53,000. If you have a car, God forbid you have a car, that's another almost $5,000. So now you're down to about $49,000. Now with the $48,000, how much is your rent? I mean, how much is your student loan? Student loans for a 200, let's say, let's be conservative. Let's just say it's $125,000, and you have to pay on that loan. Well, what is that loan? $400 a month?
Right.
Well, what's 400 times 12? Okay, now you got about $30,000 to live off of. Now, are you going to eat? Maybe you want to eat. And if you're in the chic place, right? So how much do you think it is to eat at a nice restaurant in Manhattan? I eat here by myself sometimes. I'll eat somewhere. I'll go out. If I'm working or something, I'll go out. It's like $30.
Yeah.
For a nice, really nice meal at a nice restaurant. I'm spending $35 here in Tennessee. Sometimes on the outskirts of Nashville, not even like in Nashville. In Nashville, you can spend $50.
Right.
And sometimes like with the family and all of us, we'll spend $80, $90, $100 for the family to go out one night to go eat somewhere, right? Now, if you're in New York, how much do you think it costs to eat in New York for one person? 50? So let's say 50 and you eat. Are you planning on eating at home? Are you going to go shopping at home? Okay, let's say you do go shopping at home and you buy 600, let's say $1,000 worth of food for the month, right? I mean, good quality food, $1,000. So that's $12,000 that you're spending a year on good quality food. Now you got to cook it at home, right?
Right.
So now you're down to how much? To 12. Now you're down to $18,000 that you have. That are you going to buy clothes? Are you going to buy anything else throughout the whole year with the $18? Anything? Are you going to get gas?
You got Christmas gifts. You got birthday gifts.
Are you going to go to a concert? Are you go to any show? You're broke.
Yes,
You're broke.
That's true.
And it's crazy.
But that also, that statistic that you talked about regarding college degrees, I think, if I remember correctly, most of that applies to specialties. So when you're looking at doctor, lawyer, teacher, those folks who are, you actually need a college degree, because
Correct.
again, the good majority of people, and
Yeah, I mean,
again,
I'm not going to a doctor that don't got a college degree.
well, of course, okay, the guy who graduates last is still called doctor, right? But what I'm saying is that
That is true.
what I'm saying is that when you get a degree, not that I'm against degrees, but I'm saying when you get a degree in economics or left-handed puppetry or whatever it is, okay, you're again 50% of those people don't stay with that degree, meaning don't get a job in that degree.
Right.
They just don't. Those are the statistics. Now, if you're a doctor, you're pretty much going to stay a doctor. If you're a teacher, you're pretty much going to stay a teacher for the most part. And you're going to retire in those specialties, right?
Right.
Degrees, for the most part, right, really were made for specialties,
Correct.
for those types of things. Okay,
I think we
because
try
you
to
can
add like marketing
right.
and
I mean, you can. Yeah.
business.
Okay, but again, you can have a guy who has 20 years of experience versus a guy who just graduated with a degree. Okay,
Right.
and they're doing the same job. Okay, you could say, well, are you going to hire the guy with the experience or the guy who doesn't have any experience but he's got the degree? You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, I've hired thousands of people in my life. I've hired both, but I always look for the guy with the experience. And by the way, I don't give a shit where they went to school.
That's another thing.
I've never, ever in the thousands and thousands of people that I've hired ever looked at where they went to school and hired them because of that.
Right. Right. Because it's so insignificant onto what their abilities are.
Exactly.
And I mean, I think
People are obsessed with, they have to go to this prestigious school. I was like, it's funny. I was having a, not an argument, but a spirited conversation. This was years ago with somebody that I was supervising. Now, this person had a college degree. I was supervising this person, and she was telling me how important their college degrees were, especially with her family. Now, her family came from Europe and all this. And I get it. In her family, if you didn't have a degree, you were useless.
right.
Right.
Yeah,
Now, of
there's
course,
some families that are like that.
and I
Still.
get that, but in the back of my mind, I wasn't going to say this to her, but I was going to say, well, then why are you working for me?
Right. I wear tights. Right.
Exactly. See these tights?
Well, I think Stallone said it best here in this clip that I'm going to just share with everyone.
The whole point of a college degree is to show a potential employer that you showed up someplace 4 years in a row, completed a series of tasks reasonably well and on time. So if he hires you, there's a semi-decent chance that you'll show up there every day and not fuck his business up.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the again, I think I was a lot tougher on college degrees back in a few years ago. I'm not as you know, if you want to do that, I think it's important to do that. You know what I mean? I think that if that's something that you really want to do, like my wife has a master's degree.
But
She really
she has
likes it.
but she's a specialty though.
It's
So
right, yeah,
so does my wife. She has a master's degree. She's a
yeah,
retired teacher. You had to have that.
right,
You
right,
couldn't be a teacher if you didn't have that.
correct. So yeah, you're right, you're right. But I mean, she also likes school. She likes
Absolutely,
the idea of
100%.
it. I
Yeah.
was just not a good. I was not a good student because
I
I was so bored to death.
right.
90% of the time, I was dozing off. I was daydreaming. I was thinking about music, or I was thinking about girls, or whatever the hell I was thinking about. But I was not focused on it. So I did very badly in school. When I went to college for a little bit, and I did a little bit better, but only because I got validated as a creative writer. And I
Correct.
had a writing class that actually really, really encouraged me. And I had some articles written in their local paper, and that was actually my first real wow. Okay, my brain just doesn't work like this. It works this way.
Correct.
And that was like my first thing.
But it's much harder for
college
the
can waken you up in certain areas if you have a good professor and a good.
yes, but college. I mean, honestly, I mean, college. I don't feel again. These are just my feelings on it, but it's is not designed necessarily for the creative person.
No,
Right?
it's not.
Us
It's
as
not.
creative people, you and I are creative people. We have a different mindset than the person who's never doesn't create anything, right?
Right.
Who's not, our mindset is always, even when I was in school, I went to college. Okay. When I was in school, I was the same way. I was daydreaming. I wasn't even there. I took up space basically. So my thing with it is this: if you want to go to college and get a degree, go for it. Do what you got to do. But you have to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. And this is part of the problem with our young people today. Half of them don't do it for the right reason. They do it because they were just pressured to do it. Some of them don't really want to do it. They were just following the line that their parents or their generations were doing it. Number one. Number two, make sure you're doing it because you plan to really go into something that you're going to take into life and do well with it. You know what I'm saying? Instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to get this useless degree," where's that going to get me? It's not going to get me anywhere. But I can say I went through school and I had a college degree.
Correct.
So that's where my issue is. Again, when you need it for these specialties, or you need it, because again, you don't need a college degree to start a business. Bill Gates proved that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
I mean, Gary V, who I follow, some of the stuff he says, but this is what he says, which I agree with what you were just saying.
Were you always successful?
In everything but school.
Didn't do well in school.
Poor. Terrible, actually. Punted it. It was funny. And this is where I give my parents enormous credit. And it's funny, it's a business book that says self-awareness. My parents grew up, and I give them so much credit, in a world where all their contemporaries, and you know this, education's the way out for immigrants.
Sure is.
My mom recognized that I was a merchant, an entrepreneur, a promoter.
So did school fail you, or you failed school?
School failed me. School's failing entrepreneurs every single day. Because it's not built for entrepreneurship. It's built for workers. If you're being taught to play within the lines, and there's nothing being taught that maps to the entrepreneurial market. As a matter of fact, my biggest cynicism when I sit across an entrepreneur today is if they are too successful at school. I probably look at Ivy League grads starting startups right now with more of a negative light than I do somebody who wasn't as good. Because what I've learned over the last 5 to 7 years, and by the way, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've taken a step back on this because there's too many entrepreneurial friends who've gone to great schools that have been successful. So this is not a blanket statement, but I will tell you that in a world of private schools, in a world of mommy and daddy having a lot of connections, that when you go from 12, 15, 18 years of that ecosystem and you go into a market and you create an app, the market doesn't give a crap who your dad is. The market responds to your product. And a lot of these kids have not been able to take the punch in the mouth that comes along with entrepreneurship.
Boom.
There you go. That's it. 100%. Nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, to me, says it, because kind of you and I sort of are entrepreneur minded in a way, with the band and with your wellness business, and I've always had ideas and always like, I'm gonna wallpaper that glows in the dark, get rid of electricity, Ralph Cramden kind of a syndrome. I've always felt that there was a little bit of I was cut from a different cloth from early on. And but yeah, my trip to Phoenix was great.
How was it? That's like besides that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play?
Yeah, exactly. This is so weird. This is a green cactus.
You can sell that.
Wow,
that's wild.
By
the way, I showed you this, right?
Oh yeah, you did see me. Yeah,
my Dolly Parton cup. My daughter went to Tennessee, your neck of the woods, not near you, but she said it was amazing. Had a great time. Everybody had a southern accent.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of that here. Actually, My kids.
They have a Southern accent?
My son does. My son does.
Wow.
Well, he's been here almost 3 years. He's been here.
Well, I guess that would make
He-
sense.
When we were, he was 5. Yeah, he was 4. He was turning 5. So
Hey, Dad.
yeah, so he'll be like, "Hey, well, I don't know about that, Dad."
Wow.
And even my daughter, again, she got here when she was 10.
Right.
She's 13 now, so it's they're very formative years.
That's true.
And everybody at school, a lot of them are locals. All the teachers are from the South. Yeah, so
Wow.
it is kind of funny, but yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna do a show on Dolly Parton because I love Dolly Parton. I've always loved Dolly Parton. I was just talking to somebody about Dolly Parton because she was such a force growing up in my house. Like
Mhm.
it was, with the, she had the 9 to 5 movie
Right.
that was
Yep.
like
Yep.
ridiculously huge. She was always on TV on Johnny Carson.
That's right.
She would always come out and she would sing a song like on the guitar, just her and the guitar. And it was like she didn't need anything around her. Her and a guitar was amazing. Her and just her voice, it was just was epic. And then Islands in the Stream came out.
Oh yeah.
My mother was obsessed with
Really.
this song. I mean,
Really?
George, she had the record and she would put it onto the record player and just hit the little button that it just comes back and plays it over again, the record.
Oh my
So
God.
all day long. You can ask my brother and my sisters all day long. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. All day long, there would just be that in the house, and that got me interested in Kenny Rogers,
Mm.
and he had Lady, and
Yeah.
he had The Gambler, and all those big hits and stuff.
Yep.
But then me and my brother got really into like his catalog stuff and just started listening to like Coward of the County and all these
Nice.
classic country songs. And it was so he was big, and but Dolly Parton, and then she had the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas film
Yes, that's right.
with Burt Reynolds. That was also a great film. Yeah, just so we're gonna do a Dolly episode. She's from Tennessee. We are planning a trip. Me and the kids, we're going to go to Dollywood. Probably not this year, but we're gonna go next year for sure. We're gonna go to Dollywood, and yeah, and that's gonna be a lot of fun. So that'll be our show. Oh, we went over, huh? I didn't even realize the
was
time.
that- Holy cow.
Yeah. Well, if you're still on here, God bless you.
God bless you.
We for those of you who are not familiar with what we do, the Artist Blueprint, we talk about our experiences in life, and we talk about art, and we also talk about how whatever we're going through can help someone achieve their goals while we're trying to achieve ours. Not that we have some kind of we're not ivory tower philosophers here. We're out there living the life and working and making mistakes and challenging ourselves. And that's what the show is about. So I thought, I went to Phoenix. Let's talk about Phoenix. But whatever the conversation is, we'll always go into something else and something like that's what we do here. It is a artist blueprint, and it is being an artist. You're creative, and our creative minds will really get ignited during these episodes. So we appreciate you hanging out with us and taking the time to listen to our craziness. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. Thank you, Trina, again for the trip of Phoenix, and for the food and the laughs and all that. Appreciate it. Want to thank also everyone at the National Healthcare for the Homeless Council, my coworkers, just wonderful people. I just really appreciate them very much. Having a good time there, and I have a lot of other plans and ideas that I'm doing in that space, with the council and even outside, in the storytelling world with some people that I met. So I'm very excited about that whole space, having come from experiencing homelessness world back in the days when I was a teenager. It is something that I'm passionate about as well. And yeah, so anyway, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Next week, we're going to be doing Dolly Parton. So I'm not going to be doing Dolly Parton, but we're going to be actually doing an episode about Dolly Parton, and who looks fantastic even today. And she's great. I love her. So we're going to be doing that next week. So take care of yourselves, everyone. Have a great week. For George Batista, Johnny Risotto, and Artist Blueprint, and for all our staff here, I want to thank you. See you all next week. And as always, peace.